Hey guys, Dan Goet here, your host for the Traveling Hypnotist, as I am often the Traveling Hypnotist. So, what do I want to talk about tonight? Well, if you are a traveling hypnotist like myself, or you are a speaker or a presenter or someone that just really loves traveling to events and hypnosis conference, um, this this broadcast is for you, and I'm just going to make sure that we're broadcasting everywhere we're supposed to be broadcasting. And it looks like we are broadcasting indeed on our Facebook page and on our YouTube page. So that's pretty cool. All right, so let's get into it, shall we? All right. This evening, as we talk all about all the great stuff, you can probably tell by the background some of the things that we're going to be talking about tonight, as I let it be a surprise. And if you do watch this on the replay, please put hashtag replay so that I know that you guys looked at it. So, The Traveling Hypnotist is a podcast, the show where we talk about business, travel, events, marketing, and everything in between that affects the professional hypnotist out there on the road. As we have always said, right? And hey, I'm your host, Dan Goet. My good buddy, Frank T. Rex. You'll recognize him, obviously, from the Monday Report. And remind me to tell you the story of Frank. So today we are heading out to and looking at what is called, or has been called, the entertainment capital of the world. That's right, Las Vegas, Nevada. So for decades, Vegas was the obvious choice for conventions, seminars, conferences, trainings, events. This was because why? Well, cheap hotel rooms, affordable flights, endless entertainment, and venues capable of hosting everything from a small event to a full-on convention. So, yeah, right? And as we look at this and we kind of get that set right there, right? Small workshops, conventions, with thousands of attendees, hundreds of attendees, if you will. However, lately, many event organizers and even, attendees and presenters and everyone heading out there have started to ask a difficult question. Has Las Vegas become too expensive? Right? That's the question. And perhaps even more importantly, to this question of has Las Vegas become too expensive is, has Las Vegas priced out the middle class attendee? All right. Because a lot of us, that we go to this conference, we go to that conference, we speak at this conference, we speak at that conference, even though, we do pretty well in the field of hypnosis. I do okay. I'm not a holistic millionaire, but I do okay. But it can get pretty pricey. So today we'll examine the numbers, the trends, what experts are saying, why tourism is slowing, and maybe what we can do to make things better and to maybe negotiate better deals. I know that I did want to hold a conference out there, an event in Las Vegas one year. It didn't happen. Needed the corporate backing, and I couldn't get it. So the event didn't happen just because, again, it was so expensive. I needed that corporate backing. And I just could not get it no matter how hard I tried. And maybe that's on me. So, but if you have a beverage, if you got a cup of coffee, a glass of water, iced tea, whatever have you. So let's settle in and let's take a look at what they have going on here, right? Um, because Las Vegas may be holding the bad hand. I hate to say that, but could be a thing. So let's take a look at it. Right. The Vegas we remember doesn't seem to be there anymore. I think the first time I went to Las Vegas was a family vacation, 2010. Had a great time. Then I went back for Hypnosis conference in 2015, 16, and 17. Had a great time. So for years, Vegas operated on this simple formula, right? The casinos didn't make money. The money from the hotel room, what they really made their money on was from everything else, right? Everything that happened around the hotel room, right? After you checked in. That's where they were kind of making that money. It was a very simple formula. The rooms were inexpensive or cheap, as we like to say, but okay. I don't know if that's true, but yeah. Parking was free. I remember going out there. Parking was free. You didn't have to pay for it. The buffets were affordable. And they were really, really nice. You could go to a buffet, man. It was awesome. Like you could eat $25 a whole day. Shows, they were reasonably priced and having a good time with that. So, and people arrived there feeling like they had kind of really discovered a great bargain. Now, that being said, they spent their money everywhere else. You checked into the hotel room. You went to the buffet. Maybe you did some gambling. Maybe you did a lot of stuff. So the model that built modern Vegas, unfortunately, isn't there anymore because over the past decade, something's changed. And I just saw a story talking about the Heart Attack Grill. They'd been on the Strip for 20 odd years, and they're moving off the Strip. The owner said that Vegas has lost its soul. So, and I'm sorry to hear that. Resorts increasingly shifted towards maximizing revenue from every aspect of the guest experience. They started to squeeze every dime they could, right? Parking fees appeared, resort fees expanded, food prices climbed, and it's just like it was looking like they were trying to get every dime they could get their hands on. Show tickets increased. And you know what? Even the simple conveniences began carrying additional charges. Some of the hotels used to have little refrigerators in every room. You got to call now. You got to pay for that. If you want a refrigerator in your room, you want a coffee pot in your room, you got to pay for that. And that's not cool. So the resort fees on many strips properties are right now, they're kind of they're 30 to 55, if not more. And then you couple that with the security deposit of $100 or $50 a night. That's beyond the advertised room rate. And one of the things that Expedia has done that I really like is they've added that into their price. So if you go to Expedia, I used to say scroll down and look at the hotel information, and you'll see the security deposit. You'll see the resort fees. So you still do have to look for that a little bit. And it can be just horrible. Many visitors have described the experience as death by 1,000 fees. And sadly, that is just, it's not great. So what does Vegas actually cost today? So we look at some of the realistic conference attendee budgets, and this actually happened to an individual I know. They went there, they weren't prepared for the resort fees or the security deposit, and they got there and they thought they were paying one thing for the room, and they turned out it just gutted all the money they brought for food. So that wasn't a great thing. But let's start with airfare, because domestically it's up right now for obvious reasons. So that airfare ranges anywhere from $250 to $700, but I don't think you're going to see the $250 right now for a while, especially given the fact that Spirit Airlines just folded up, right? So you get this higher prices, and it's even higher during the peak convention periods, right? It's higher during the holidays. It's higher during the peak tourism months. It's for attendees traveling from the Midwest or East, the cost of airfare is often becomes the first major hurdle or barrier, if you will. So that can become a problem. And I've been looking at it myself. And it's not the best. It's not the best situation right now. Hopefully we can get that done, right? So if you look at a room that's advertised $129 per night, that might seem attractive. But let me just say this. But then comes all those little hidden fees. Resort fees. And I don't know what they do, but they're there, right? Taxes. I don't know what they do, but they're there. Parking fees. You get that. Early check-in charges, late checkout charges, miscellaneous surcharges, all these things happening all at once that you have to plan for, right? For a 4 or 5 night stay can easily add up to several $100s beyond the advertised rate. Resort fees alone often add at a minimum $30 to $55 a night, if not more. Excuse me, just adjusting myself in the seat there. You guys can't hear that if you're listening to the audio, but you can see me do it if you're on the video. Food. Las Vegas, the dining has changed dramatically. I remember going out there in 2015, and you could just really see it very well. So breakfast, I mean, you could get it. I remember paying $15, then $22, now $30. Lunch is the same way if you're going somewhere off strip or you're going somewhere on strip. You're looking at least $20 to $40, if not more, for lunch. And one of the things that some of the places are doing right now is you've got to be careful of this, because they want the big gratuity. The waitress wants the big. They tend to try and group you into 2 checks, right? It's not like separate checks where you get a $4 or $5 gratuity. It's, well, the 5 of you are together and the 6 of you are together, and that's $300, so I get a gratuity of. So you got to be careful on that. You got to make sure that you know that you're not paying for 5 other people at that table. So, and that's happened to me. I mean, they were friends of mine, so I wasn't super angry about it because, I do okay. I could afford it. There's no nice way to say that without sounding, a little hoity-toity, if you will. But it wasn't something I was looking for. So you got to be careful on that, because that's a new trick that they're putting out there. So dinner, you're going to be looking at $100 plus, easy. I mean, you 30 to 100. Coffee is expensive, $5 to $10. And I don't care for that. If you go to a coffee place, you get up early in the morning, you're at the conference, you're going to wander down, you're going to see Starbucks, and you're going to pay maybe $5 or more for a cup of coffee. That becomes a thing, right? So for conference attendees, 4 days in town, food expenses alone can exceed $250 all the way to $500. Then if you're looking for any type of entertainment, shows remain a major attraction there in Las Vegas, or events going on, though you can find some entertainment that's reasonably priced. I think we were out there last year, my business partner and I, and we went over to the aquarium at Treasure Island. She really liked that, and we had a good time doing that, right? But that's okay. So ticket prices commonly range anywhere from 50 to $100, and they can go up from there to 200 to 300. So, and that's because again they're hitting us. They're hitting us hard, and this is before taxes and fees with some of these tickets. So I tend to plan my entertainment before I ever get there. I'm a gold member. No, and I think I'm now a platinum member on Expedia. So I do save a fair amount. That way I buy tickets prior to getting there. So I've pretty much paid for the trip before I ever get off the plane. And that's just one of the things I do, right? But you add a transportation bill, cocktails, all that stuff, it grows quickly. And I think it's going to grow even more quickly given the fact that fuel costs are up right now. So your Uber driver is going to be paying more for fuel. So you're going to be paying more for the Uber. And that's unfortunate right now. It can still be done if it's done right. So airfare, you're looking at $400 plus, if that. Hotels are right around $700. Again, food is going to be your big thing. $350 to $500. Entertainment can exceed $200 a night. Ground transportation can go up past $100 a day if you're taking 2 or 3 or maybe 4 Ubers. That gets expensive. Miscellaneous expenses for whatever you're doing out there. I don't know what that is, but you got to think about that. So, I mean, you can, and I can say this confidently because I've done it. You can spend right around $1,900 to $2,000 in 5 days in Las Vegas. That is a lot of money on a trip for just 5 days. So, I mean, I wouldn't spend that much normally in a month per se. And that's before you purchase your conference ticket. That's not even adding your conference ticket in. So it gets tough. But there are conferences that are worth it, that are out there, and they are really good. So you're a middle-class professional, that's a substantial investment. That's me. I'm the middle-class professional, right? I'll honestly say that. So now we look at why people are staying away, and we've looked at this for a while, and I've been seeing it everywhere, right? Recent tourism data shows that Vegas visitation has, as they say, softened noticeably within the visitor volume declining, and some resorts reporting slower traffic. Analysts are citing several causes for this, including economic uncertainty right now, reduced international travel, and fewer major sporting events happening. Even though Las Vegas is got that lovely stadium out there, they've got Formula One out there, you still have those rising visitor costs. So when travelers are asked why they're reconsidering Vegas, several themes appear repeatedly over and over and over again, right? Sticker shock being one of the biggest ones. So you think you're paying one thing and you act as you're paying another. So it is right there. Boom, sticker shock. Their visitors are and attendees and myself, sometimes I get increasingly frustrated with the resort fees and the parking fees and the expensive food and the high beverage prices. So, and the hidden charges. And I want to make it clear that that any of this is on any event or conference that you might go to in Las Vegas, because they can't control that. So let's be very clear on that. So the perception of value has changed dramatically. More competition is out there right now. As an event coordinator, we hold our event in Michigan, but I still get a lot of emails coming from different states to ask me to move my conference or move our event to their area to do that. But over years ago, that Vegas had fewer competitors. Today's consumer can choose, right? There's some things happening out there. You've got all-inclusive resorts in places like Orlando, Nashville, Branson. Where else have we got? Miami, Florida is a big one for these. Even Cancun has some all-inclusive resorts. I don't think anyone's ever. I don't know if anybody's ever held a hypnosis conference in Mexico, Cancun. Um, that's an idea, right? So you do have these alternatives right now to offer clearer pricing and similar entertainment value. So economic pressure is being felt. It is, but it's not all bad news. It's not all bad news, right? You got, even though that economic pressure is out there, the inflation has affected, excuse me, nearly every household. Hotel rates nationwide have risen substantially since 2019. It's not just in one area, but squeezing those middle income travelers such as myself. I've always joked that I could do an entire reality show called Life in Zone 8. I really could, right? So, but when individuals have to choose or must choose between attending a conference anywhere, or those household expenses, the conference is going to lose every time, right? That's what's going to happen. You're going to lose. So, and they're not happy about it. I wouldn't be happy about it if I couldn't take a trip I wanted to take, because I've got to pay this, or I've got to pay that, or this is now this is increased and gas is increased and that's up. So the question that is being asked right now is, has Las Vegas lost the middle class? And this is perhaps one of the most important questions for organizers out there, such as myself. And, many tourist analysts believe Las Vegas has increasingly focused on the premium customer while becoming less attractive to the budget conscious and middle income travelers. The high rollers, if you will. You see that. It's like, oh, they built this hotel for high rollers. No weekend conventioneers guys here, right? So recent report notes that luxury visitors remain relatively strong, while the middle tier and value orientated travelers, if I can speak clearly, are feeling the greatest pressure from the rising costs. So we see that, right? So in other words, what do we have? We have kind of lost our way on that, but and the one thing you have to say on that is Vegas isn't necessarily losing wealthy visitors. Vegas may be losing affordability for everyone else. And there's nothing wrong with being rich. I would love to be rich. Let me just say that. But for professional conferences, that's a significant concern. It really is, because I want to go to those conferences. I want to be there. These are great conferences that are happening all over the world, and you want to travel to them and meet your friends and see people. But yeah, so you look at most hypnosis conference attendees are not corporate executives with unlimited expense accounts, even though that the guild, the North American Hypnotherapy Guild, which we started, has an expense account. It's not unlimited. We do have to limit that, but even with your private practitioners and small business owners and coaches and therapists, you still have to be concerned with that, right? Trainers, entrepreneurs, all of us moving out into the world that are going to be getting this money back from our taxes, but we've got to spend it first, right? Value matters. Value matters. So every extra dollar spent on travel is a dollar that's unavailable for other things, household expenses or education or training or just money to put into your business to help it grow. So even though conferences and events such as, the things that we all go to are um, investments in yourself and in your business, can be a problem. So what are hotels doing to bring people back? Well, here's where things get interesting. Here's where there's a little light. Because I think the market is responding. And some of the hotels, some of the resorts are beginning to go, maybe this wasn't a great idea. They're beginning to offer those incentives designed, hopefully, to increase visitation, visitors coming back and improve that perceived value that it had. And some of these things are including that some of the resorts are getting rid of the parking fees. That free parking is making a return, and I don't know when that's going to be, but that is some of the things that are happening. Several Las Vegas properties have even begun to promote or extend complimentary parking, right? They're getting that free parking coming back. These are programs that are going to be out there. So I don't know if it's going to be free parking just en masse or what have you. And they're also looking at local discounts. Used to be if you were a local, you got some discounts, right? Some of the major operators or oh, good heavens, hotels and casinos have begun putting out dining discounts, loyalty program incentives, as every hotel does, to increase that traffic coming in, because they realize that they need that money back. They're losing money, and they're continuously losing revenue and tourism, right? So some of the properties also have begun offering, I should say, lower resort fees or reduced room rates as well. And sometimes it's a limited time promotion. Resort fee reductions are also somewhat limited, and they're hoping to kind of bring you back, right? And they want to try to stimulate that occupancy. So that's the light at the end of the tunnel, that they're beginning to see that they need to bring back some of the things that they had, right? Hotels know that travelers are becoming more price sensitive, more aware to the price of things, more aware to what they're doing. And some resorts are beginning to compete for value conscious guests. And I don't mean cheap. I mean, value, right? Such as myself. I want to get the best room I can at the best price I can, because sometimes I'm bringing myself and my cameraman and my business partner and everything out there, right? So that's pretty much why I'm looking for the value. So what can we do to keep this pressure on so that we can ensure that we can still have this great stuff, right? So we look at some of the strategies, and negotiating power. That's our thing, right? First thing is multiple hotel bids. Look at more than one place. Don't just go with one place. I just did that recently here with the Michigan conference. I was looking at different venues, and the one venue that I was kind of looking at, I just let them know I was willing to walk away and that negotiation went well. So be there. Never negotiate only with the one property. Request room proposals from strip resorts, off strip resorts, downtown properties. Sometimes you'll get better rates off strip. I know I stayed at the Gold Coast Casino at a conference I went to last year, and it was really nice. They were very nice rooms, and they were reasonably priced. It was an older casino and a hotel, but it was still really nice. So, because competition creates leverage, and you can negotiate resort fees as well. Don't just go for the room rate. Try and get some, resort fees down if you can, right? So don't just focus on those room rates. And because that can be a mistake. Negotiate, 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 as my good friend Brian Bay would say. Resort fee reductions, complimentary internet, free parking, whatever you can get your hands on. Discounted food options. I know that that can be something that happens. So, and those savings can dramatically reduce our cost as attendees or our cost as speakers. So, it's good. And you can use that historical data to help you negotiate as the years go by. Hey, we did this many rooms last year. Now we need this many rooms. Can we make a deal, right? Because hotels love predictable revenue. They love it. They knew they made this much money last year. We're going to make that. We're thinking about making this much money again this year. So they're going to be willing to work with you. And hopefully this pressure brings the soul of Las Vegas back, because it's a place that I've always enjoyed going. But I would enjoy it more if it was itself again, right? So I'm just going to say that. So data strengthens your negotiating position. Be flexible with dates. That's one of the things I've learned. Is even though people love their dates, right? Oh, the conference is this year. Every year, it's in Michigan. It's at this place. It's in Canada. It's at this place every year. It's da 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 every year. Always. So, but be flexible with your dates and avoid major sporting events, holidays. Avoid peak convention periods if you can. Right? A small date adjustment can save attendees thousands collectively. Bundle values. We just did that. I was talking about that earlier. And a lot of them do that, right? So I'm just going to say that when you're traveling out there, and hopefully we can keep the pressure on and get it back to where it needs to be. So it works out. One of the things that people really I like, is the airport shuttle. You get credits or Ubers, food vouchers. Sometimes these concessions are easier to obtain than room discounts, which seems odd, but okay. So, yeah. Right? And if you have to, remind the resort about lifetime value. And what do I mean by that? Lifetime value, right? Conferences attendees aren't one-time customers, because the conference isn't a one-time customer. It's going to go on this year, next year, and that year. So you get a lot of returns repeatedly. 50 people came this year, 200 people came this year, 100 people came. We're going to come, and they're going to be there and be there and be there and be there, right? A conference that books 100 to 300 rooms or what have you annually for 5 years or 10 years or what have you. That represents a substantial revenue stream that they're not going to want to give up. But as they see it dip, that's where they're making these changes. That's where they're kind of going back to the formula that built places like Las Vegas and Orlando and Branson and Nashville. So hotels should view organizers as partners. I would hope that. And not just customers, right? So you have to ask yourself, is Vegas still worth it? Well, the answer to that is maybe. Maybe. I'm going to say that. I'm going to say maybe. Um, right? Because Vegas still offers a lot of great things. Uh, it still has a lot of good advantages that few destinations can really match. And that's still a plus, right? And that's a huge venue inventory. That's easy airport access. Oh, it is. It's right there. I want to say McCarran, but it's not McCarran anymore. I can't think of the name of it, but it's really easy to get around, right? Entertainment options, uh, professional event infrastructure is there, and that's really good. Large meeting capacities. So this is still giving Vegas an upper hand and brand recognition. So that works out really well. Organizers like myself, if you're going all over the place in the world, um, might have to evaluate Vegas differently than we did 10 years ago as an attendee. Uh, you can't just say that automatically Vegas is the cheapest option. Those days are kind of, I think, largely gone, but they're coming back somewhat. So you got to compare. You've got to compare, and even though it's an amazing place, right? You've got to compare as an attendee the total cost, the travel accessibility, the value perception, the um, hotel concessions, return on your investment as an attendee. Hopefully, that's good, and it always has been thus far. And sometimes Vegas wins. Sometimes another city wins. So it can be tough because, man, going out there in 2010, 2015, 2016, 2017, it was great. It was great. Still is, I think, some parts of it, but much of it has kind of changed, right? So that key decision is make your decision with your eyes open. Vegas wasn't built on luxury. It really wasn't. It was built on value. It was built on value. All right. People came, like myself. We came because we felt we were getting something. We were getting good value. We're getting more than we paid for. And that's just the city itself. That has nothing to do with the conference that you attend. So I will say if the city hopes to maintain its position as America's convention capital, a lot of experts believe that restoring that sense of value will be critical. It's going to be critical. Recent visitor surveys, tourism reports, and industry commentary increasingly point to the pricing concerns as a major challenge for attending middle or attracting, I should say, attracting attendees in the middle income traveler range. So that's going to be important, right? The lesson can be simple. And that is they've got to get back to what made them great, to what made that place a wonderful place to visit, right? So you got to compare your options. You got to advocate for yourself as an attendee. Um, it's really great. One of the things you got to do, you got to look at it. You got to look at it, right? And remember, the best value isn't necessarily the most famous venue, um, but it can be uh, that it's the venue where that you feel or attendees feel they received exceptional value. And there's a lot of great venues out there that can do that. So that is um that's my take on that, right? That's my take on that. And it's it's become it's become difficult, right, guys? It's become difficult. But hopefully, uh as we do the things that we can do to help each other, and maybe keep that pressure on the city to kind of stop doing the things that they're doing, and get back to doing the things that make Las Vegas just great, or wonderful. Bring those costs down. So, but hey, I'm Dan Goyette, and this has been the Traveling Hypnotist podcast. I hope that everyone has safe travels, successful events, and we'll see you on the next episode. So,